illusion. Mind over matter, y'all. Mind over matter, y'all. It's kind of scary when you don't know where you're at planetary. That's what's up. That's what's up. It's kind of scary when you don't know where you're at planetary. That's what's up. That's what's up. It's dangerous when I get angry. The destroyer of worlds, man, so angry. Yeah. A flippin' Illuminati, sacred geometry, and flow off the snotty naughty. Nipping off the living vortex. Busting up from raw sex. Blessing sets. The mission of the lyrics and the spirit, keep the beat rolling. Cause I'm gonna jam. I'm gonna tell you what my plan is, man. Okay. Today we head into the Nola Caves in a yo trip, sipping off the syrup. Had a nice Holy Spirit night. That's how I kick back tonight. Woo. I can do one of my favorite verses. Yeah. I've been digging in the crates ever since I was living in space. Before the rat race, before monkeys had human traits. I mastered numerology, a Big Bang theology, performed lobotomies with telekinetic psychology. Invented the mic so I can start blessing it. Chin checking kids to make my point like an impressionist. Many men that try to shake us, but I twist my cause to double helixes and show them what I'm made of. Buckle-these like leg braces. Cast the spell of instrumentalism over all unseasoned haters. So try on, leave you without a shoulder to cry on. From now to infinity, feel that icons be bygones. I vibe on, go sleep, no harmless. I tried red, but moved on to a promise. I storm shit with or without an accomplice. And run the gauntlet with whoever the font is. High voltage.
Woo! That was my man. Shout out to Liam Lloyd from Australia, doing advocacy work in the Outback right now. Lyrical genius. And we got Henneka La Strega here. This is excitement. This is a full-on energy, guys. Absorb it. She is a conscious explorer. She is doing many things in the advocacy work for food. She's doing advocacy work for consciousness. And she's an expert at shamanic medicine. And she is here to deliver the message and the truth for all you truth seekers. How are we doing, Henneka?
Good. How are you?
This has just been a day of reckoning. This is a day of truth. And I'm really happy to have you on because this is going to bring us both to our higher levels and help people live to whatever they're going through, whatever missions of fear they're passing through. And we'll bring up the swords together and merge and give someone some good pro-life tips.
Nice. Sounds good. I love that you're out there sharing your words and your love. It's beautiful. We all need to do that more.
Yeah, we just got to be fearless and have a big life with big risks, right?
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Towards the fear.
That's it. Move towards the fear. So let's start out with this. How can we bring forth more world uniting and world peace as we go through trials and tribulations in Europe, trials and tribulations in the Middle East? And how can we merge as leaders?
Wow. There's so many ways, I think. One of the hardest and maybe easiest at the same time and most obvious is to resist the natural thing of joining the lower vibration of fear, because when it's like coming at us from all angles, you know, television, newspapers, internet, and it's good to stay informed, but it's also, for me anyway, I can feel devastated very easily. If you're sensitive and it's just, you know, or you can get angry, or it can bring up all sorts of negative stuff. So I think what's really important is to resist that natural thing, because that's where I think we're, you know, when we're in that lower vibration, we're easier to control, we're easier to, you know, we can't be then one, you know, we can't be in the love vibration at the same time. So I think it's just finding that way, as hard as it is, to try and stay in the place of love and compassion and understanding at the same time as being faced with all these horrible things, you know, and just trying to understand from many perspectives rather than just your own, sitting in your lounge room and what you've been told. And, you know, it's like everyone's got their reason for doing things, and some people don't know better, and some, you know, there's many different reasons why things go on. And I think that if we can all stay in a higher place, it creates more of that, you know. So I think that's really important.
Love it, love it. Leaders need to come to fruition and have ethical conversations while we learn the philosophical creations, and accept that courage is a part of us, and we got to dig deep to sort of help people along their journey and realize that we're not so separated, and we're not so different than everyone, and allowing us as travelers, since you've been around the world, I've been around the world, you see that a lot of the media isn't always true, nor is it directed at helping us grow and expanding and grow to communities and sort of help out. So with the world, I think we can sort of choose more positive elements that are going good, not necessarily the news. I think a good strategy would be to not watch as much news, unfriend people that are always preaching hatred, and maybe have sort of events and retreats and learn new skills so that we can better ourselves. What's your take on that? How have you gotten to the level you're at? Because I know you're doing a lot of exploring and trying.
Yeah. I think trying to live as ethical as possible, just being more conscious in your choices. You're still going to grow, and in 10 years look back and be like, what did I can't believe I thought that. I can't believe I was doing that. You obviously have to go in a certain order, or, you always have to be kind to yourself. You're not going to be perfect. You know what I mean? But I think, just in your choices, in your conversations, in your, things you choose to involve with, also, where you put your coin, that's a massive, that's the currency right now, is this coin and cards and things. So making more conscious decisions in that, because where you put your money is energy. It's just another energy. So just what you're contributing to, being conscious of that, and that can be something as simple as a conversation, like entertaining a really unhelpful, derogatory, a conversation that kind of perpetuates discrimination or something, up to, what business you choose to go into, or what businesses you choose to support with your money. So there are many ways that you can live ethically, and I think, the more people try to do that, it just spreads.
Right. How would someone on that journey seek a mentor, or maybe even get involved in an organization? Because maybe a lot of people are, not around that in their community. Maybe they're living in an area that may have less involvement in that. Where would you start?
Exactly. Well, I mean, the internet is amazing. It's obviously a massive double-edged sword, but I think the dark and the light side. But it's really good to use it, for positive. If you're in a little village and you don't fit in, and you're like, feel like you want to do something different, but you don't know what, because you've never been exposed to it, I think that's where the internet is helping so many people. Or young ones that are in like abusive situations, like not so nice family situations and things like that. So in that way, I think the internet is great, because you can Google any word and an abundance of things come up. And there are so many teachers and mentors now, so many books, so many videos. And I think that's great, because we all resonate with a different voice, vibration, look. And so I think that's really cool. You can definitely, I think it's good to explore all of them, but also to just go into, to ask yourself, because I think all the answers are inside. If you go out and you silence your mind and you have, questions or whatever, I think definitely read books, watch videos, but, not to like just attach to one thing, that's that thing of staying open, it's just, no one's got more answers than you do. You also have access to many things. So.
Absolutely. Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, small minds discuss people, and creating the opportunity, because it doesn't knock on your door, but then you can build a door and you can go into that void and sort of become your own version of Neo from the Matrix, and also be your own greatness. I mean, the higher you climb, the better the view below. And you just have to continue to find those mountaintops, those views, and continue to not get stuck in that rut, And I really think that when you just try something new, pick up a hobby, try to clear your mind and sort of reset yourself and maybe get a lot of sleep and then wake up and write down your intentions for the day. Write down just 3 things and do 3 things that help you get closer to maybe a person you want to be, a goal you want to be, and different people you want to meet. And maybe just start with investing your time, money, and like you said, coin, investing in something you believe in, and maybe educate yourself on, again, there's documentaries, there's videos and all that good stuff. Have you been to any retreats or seminars that have changed your life, and who's kind of your mentors that have guided you?
I've been to quite a few, and they're always very inspiring at the time. But I guess they kind of trigger things within me. Like, I love going to see the Dalai Lama or Sagyal Rinpoche or, you know, those kinds of guys, because
Totally.
It's just good to have those reminders. You know, I think it's good to keep reminding yourself of these things, because you know it, but, you know, the world's so busy and there's so much going on that I think that's where it's really important to find retreats, teachers, mentors, and stuff like that. And yeah, I haven't had any specific mentors that I've kind of attached to. I like many, you know, the Dalai Lama, Osho. I like the teachings of Kabbalah. I like Wicca. Yeah, so I think it's just that thing of like not joining one thing, but letting what resonates sit with you, you know, mix it all inside, you know, all the different things, even if it seems contradictory. Like for me, I can see so many different perspectives. You know, a lot of people think you got to choose one way. And I think if one connects to you that you want to be loyal to, great. But it might be that, you know, you like bits and you just put them all together and don't let other people, you know, make kind of like, what? That doesn't make sense. Or, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, go to unseen grounds, you know, like there's so much more to explore than what's already here. So they can be great little sparks to set us on our own, you know, adventure of new stuff that, you know, comes from within, and it's amazing, from dreams, from all sorts of things.
Absolutely. And, you know, having that patience and just taking that step forward to put your footprints on the moon, to discover new parts of yourself, to have a growth mindset and not a stagnant mindset, because that thought process, that belief, that paradigm shift of what you are actually attracting based on your lifestyle, based on your actions, and becoming a just do it person, or a screw it, let's do it person, like Richard Branson says, really helps you magnify it. But getting those seminars, those emails that are coming in, maybe go towards a 70% that's going to be uplifting, that challenge you, and then really go towards that challenge on a daily basis. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change the way you think about it, or just find out different perspectives, because you can kind of take in news and then believe it, but then you can find a totally polar opposite side of that. So, you know, we have an ability to really concede whatever our mind believes, and we have to practice that. We have to practice that. If we went to a seminar like a year ago, what have you done since then? What sort of, it's just like muscles or just like love. We continue to want more love and romance because that's what human beings seek. It's just like you have to train your mind 2 days. You have to train your body 3 days. You have to train your love 3 days. Get those kind of repertoires going, because, you know, it's just like a garden. You have to continue to pour water, and you have to continue to grow that. So, I mean, life is a stage, and you only get one performance. So make that performance something that's going to be, make your own movie, your own hero. And, you know, here's a funny thing that I learned. Someone says, how do you make to be a professional athlete or a professional actor? And a lot of the people respond, have a short memory, have a very short memory, because, you know, it's a new day. We can be great on a new day. We can be professional on a new day. We can be outstanding. We can have wings one day, and then we could be like in the gutter. So have a real short memory of that gutter experience, or that downside, that dark side, and you know, seek towards the light, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I think it's easy to get attached to things. At certain points, things make sense or things feel good, and you kind of want that to stay, or you think, yeah. But I think a massive thing is just allowing the flow of life. It's never going to always feel good. It's never going to always feel bad. But in the ups and downs is where you learn, you know, it's where you learn about you, it's where you learn about life, and learn to have that healthy level of unattachment where you can just let it flow and just like notice how it makes you feel, you know, and go towards things that make you feel joy and that make you feel expanding, things that make you feel like it's not the right direction. I think that's a good navigator. And yeah, just to allow it, you know, be kind to yourself, you know, because it's always gonna, you know, you have to ride the wave.
Well, you're a just do it person. How do you make your decisions? Do you use the mind, body, spirit? Do you use like a pull? Do you meditate on it? Do you consult mentors or loved ones? Because you're really an action person, and you're living all over the globe. You have an exciting life living in Tokyo and Japan. You've lived in all over Australia, and you've lived all over Europe. I mean, you're really a person who's living your own movie. How could somebody do something like you're doing?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because I always feel like I'm not a person of action, and that there are so many things that I've wanted to do, that I've written about, that I haven't done. And so you always see the negative in yourself, right? It's always so hard. It's so easy to be hard on yourself. Like, you don't realize, you know, it's much better to focus on, oh, but wait, look at the things I have done, you know, been on more adventures than many people do in many lifetimes. You know, it's so amazing how just your focus of your point of focus can make such a huge difference to how you feel, and how you feel then attracts the next things in life. So, you know, always, I think, have gratitude and a positive focus. I mean, you may not have done some things that you want to do, or maybe there's so many other things that, you know, that you've done that you just, oh, I shouldn't have, or whatever. But try to, yeah, remember the amazing things that you have done, even if they're tiny, and that attracts more. But I think just, yeah, tapping into that courage and just not listening to anyone else, just doing what you know, going out there on adventures, traveling and all that kind of stuff. I had all these other things that I was thinking of when you were talking, and I was like, what was it? Yeah. So.
Well, let me put yourself in that position. I mean, you're about to book the ticket. You're about to leave, and then there's a little voice that says, "Oh, but you don't have enough money, or you don't have enough time, or you're at this age where you shouldn't be taking on adventures. You need to settle down." What happens in that process for you?
Yeah, I've had that a lot. Well, it's an interesting one, because that stuff always creeps back, but you just got to think, what's going to make you happy? You know, what's your way of learning, your way of expanding? Your truth might be different to everybody else's. So I think you just got to jump. I always think, what's the worst that can happen? You know what I mean? Like, it's like life is like a dream, you know, it's going to go down, it's going to go up, whatever. Just jump, do it, and enjoy the adventure, you know, like, don't get so attached to the negative times. There's going to be difficulties, you know what I mean? And if you just get so wrapped up in that and, oh, poor me, and this is happening, and then you're not going to enjoy life. But if you can kind of have a giggle and have a laugh, then everything is great. You know, I think we always discriminate against like good and bad things to happen, or what we want and accept in our life, and what we reject and is not good. It's like, just let it flow. I mean, everyone's gonna die very, you know, soon, really. So not to take things too seriously, you know, just like dance with the flow, you know. And with decisions, I mean, I've famously extremely indecisive, which, like, to the point of annoying myself and others around me. So I just, you know, often I flip a coin, to be honest. I think it's one of the best oracles. As soon as you flip it and you see the answer, you'll know.
It's so true. It's like everything will pan out once you just jump, and you know that parachute's there, and you'll deal with it. Everyone wants to know the end game. We don't have the end of the game, and it's gonna mold based on our different decisions. But it all comes down to how we think about it and how we're in the mind state when we do follow through with those decisions and those life things. Because life is short, but we live it. Love is rare, but we need to grab it. Anger is bad, but we need to dump it. Fear is awful, but we need to face it. Memories are sweet. Let's just cherish it. Because the living of this life is the rarest thing in this world. Most people exist, and that's kind of all. I think they can, we can really help expand people by having more positive influence, more momentum, types of people living their story, and then them sharing their story, so that it just plants a seed in someone young and convinced that life is just, you know, one-dimensional. But I you know, it's really mind, body, and spirit, and that's what I really want to portray in the Gnarly For Namaste, is the action part of it. Because we can learn. We can watch as many YouTube videos. We can watch all the Netflix we want. We can listen to all the music we want. But when we pick up that guitar and start strumming daily and start feeling the vibration of the strings, and we really start embarking on and chasing that romantic partner, and we just take that commitment and start entailing it to our business as our future starts unfolding, and we get on the plane and we just fly to that location feeling great about it. And it's just this tremendous unattachment to it all and just letting go. I mean, just like that movie Frozen, that famous song, was it Let It Go? It's just such a great, simple direction in life.
Yeah, let it go and let it be. Exactly. Like I love that. Like diving into the mystery is just, I think for me, when it's when you don't know and it's unpredictable, is so exciting. Like when I'm on a train by myself going from God knows where to God knows where, it's the best feeling of freedom for me. Yeah, some people, yeah, are scared of that, and some people are scared of the opposite, you know, the knowing and the predictability that you can create in life. So yeah, but I definitely recommend jumping out there. Yeah.
Henneka, let me ask you something. That's totally true, and I've been there 1,000 times, and it's still hard for me to pull the trigger, because you feel like you had the pain involved with those decisions, but they all make you the beautiful version of yourself that you are now, and the fearless version of yourself that you are now, the expanded version of yourself that you are now.
Yeah.
Now, how do you stay healthy amongst polluted environments? I mean, both metaphysically and metaphorically. You know, with all the things we got going on, I mean, how do we stay sane in this interesting life has so many elements to it?
Yeah, that's a good point, because it's quite toxic. It can be quite toxic. It would be great if we could live in the mountains with perfect air and water and time. But I think if you can get good sleep, and turn your phone onto airplane mode to cut out some of the going on that's just, you know, going through the air everywhere. EMFs or something, I don't know, my mum talks about that.
Right.
And then good food. If you can eat good organic plant-based diet, food that's alive, food that's as natural as possible, as local as possible, because you are what you eat. You're eating the energy of the food, you know, that's becoming you. So without your health, you really can't adventure. You really can't focus on anything else. If you're in hospital, I was really sick growing up a lot.
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, and it's you can't focus on much else. And so health is really important. So I think good food, good sleep, but thoughts and beliefs are so much a part of health, because we can so easily get into habitual thinking where we're on autopilot most of the day. You know, even I'm really aware of that, and I'm slipping into autopilot. You know, I'm frequently pulling myself up on it, like try to be, you know, present, you know, look at what's in front of you, the grain in the wood, breathe, connect to breath. That's a big one. I often forget to breathe, and
Yeah.
That's our life force connection. It's our primary connection, you know. So breath comes first, then water, then food, you know, and thoughts and belief systems. Because yeah, if we're thinking negative things and we're letting stuff get to us, we're not going to feel good, and ultimately it creates disease. Stress is the #1 killer, I think. I mean, it's scientifically so bad for you, that like the hormones that it produces. And I really think living your authentic self, being honest to yourself and to people around you, is really just makes you just, you know, try and keep the channel clear and as pure as possible in an alignment, you know, your words, your thoughts, your actions, trying to keep those in alignment with your higher self as much as possible, you know, at the same time as being human.
Absolutely, 100% agree. And again, we go through seasons of our life. We go through a hero's journey where we go around the whole hero's journey, where we're hitting dragons and you're leaving home and you're facing your first problem. And then you have to hit that next stage where you're at that, either I'm going to fail or I'm going to return home. and you get to that next stage where the dragon tries to fight you, and you pick up your sword, your saber, and you start swinging, slashing, and you can defeat that dragon, and you may find the princess at the end of that journey. And then when you're done with that journey, most people done the journey, right? So then they're like, wow, where's my next journey? Where's my next quest? Where's my next bold move? And we sort of get stuck there, and we return to the same process, the same inner demons. And you know, if you failed, right? You haven't failed. You just tried 10,000 ways that don't work, and that you should not wait for life to give you something, but you sort of make a void and push through that boundary. And you know, keep on. You said something on where you have all the struggle in your mind and things of that nature, and to clear it, really take up something like meditation or just doing things that really make you feel really good, whether it be sport, whether it be reading, whether it be talking to yourself and writing down lists of everything that's going right with the world rather than what's wrong with it. And then sort of writing the story of your life. Don't let anyone else hold your pen and write the story for you. So it's really like a position to improve your thinking and to improve your thought. Really, I recommend reading Stoicism or Seneca or Marcus Aurelius. And there are some great leaders who came before us, and read their biographies, because they had so much tremendous fortune, but they also had so much pain, and they failed so many times. And they may have been broke 5 times. They may have been, they may have killed off some of their, had to create their demons. They may have to slay. They may have to kill people. They may have had to face poverty. They may have faced jail. They may have faced all sorts of insurmountable tasks. But at the end of that journey, they sort of pinpointed their quest, and they told their story. And you know, they may be a founding father of your nation. They may be a poetic, momentum-seeking professional. So again, like, not everyone's called to greatness, but if you are called to greatness and you want to think bigger in life, there is ways to find those people, and there are ways to seek others on that path, and they sort of get magnetically drawn to you. And you'll have arguments with people who are small thinkers. You'll have sort of like a stone blockade of your life journey that won't allow those people into your life, nor will you be attracted to those people again. And you know, the lesson keeps on coming up until you learn it and you evolve. How has that worked with you?
Yeah, that never stops. I mean, the challenges, be it obstacles external or within your own mind or whatever, they're always going to be there, I think. You know, it's like the finish line is never there. It always gets pulled back. Once you've sorted that out, there's something else. And that's what this school of life is about, right? And I think that, yeah, if you have that fire within you, that you want to, like, you know, fight for something amazing or be someone inspiring, or, you know, yeah, just go forth. And it really does help to read and listen to stories of people who have, you know, who have come from maybe the most difficult situation ever and have made it to the hugest greatness. I mean, there are so many amazingly inspirational stories like that, which I love. Stories of survival, stories of success in that way, and conquering everything, you know. But also, I think it's important for people that aren't called to that, can also be just as much a part of making the world beautiful as the people that are called to greatness. So those people that just, you know, tapping into having a simple life, being good to the ones around you. There's a quote by Osho, who I also love, don't just do something, sit there. Instead of don't just sit there, do something. Mm-hmm. So instead of just going, oh, I have to do stuff, you know, just to be and to, you know, just naturally be and feel that you are good enough as you are. Because some people, you know, like, they want to fix someone's car or have a little family, be whatever, and they're contributing, I think, just as much to the positivity if they're doing it in a beautiful way. And so not to feel bad if you don't have that calling of doing something incredible. But of course, that the ones that do, you know, you do, I do, so many do, is just go for it, you know, just do what you got to do, and in your own pace, you know, because you're always going to get impatient, I think, and think you should have done it earlier, or you could have done it better, or whatever, but just having trust that when you hold those intentions of the effect you want to have on the world and on people, you know, it'll happen. It'll come, you know.
Yeah, life's an inside game for sure, and it's definitely affecting me sometimes. And I'm in the season of winter, and I just got done with the book, and it's just a lot of sitting, it's a lot of internalizing, and it's writing, and it's a lot of comparison. Am I a bestseller? Am I gonna get awards? Am I gonna be able to do great things with the book? And then when you're done, you say, okay, I finished it. Now the real journey begins. That's the real challenge. That's teaching the book. That's explaining the book. That's doing interviews about the book. That's you know, making sure that the pictures are all online, making sure that the team involved in the book, and making sure that you ally with others, because you can't do it alone. It becomes such a solo world that we really have lost touch with others, and we become so isolated, and we compare ourselves with likes on Facebook or likes on Twitter or shares, and we sort of gotten away from who's local, who's here to reach out to, who can help, who can I mentor, who can I serve. And it's really gotten to be a selfish life, and I understand a lot of people are selfish because they've gotten to that higher level, but they haven't brought down the ladder. You know, it's just looking for opportunities to give and serve. So kind of, I know we've talked about this previously, but what are the roles in sacred medicine, and what are the roles that someone can have a secret or a life hack that they can take from this episode and apply it to their life? Because for me—
Sorry, can you say that one more time? It broke up.
Oh, I was talking about sacred medicine and what roles that life secrets and life happiness and shifting, turning off from what society has as a whole has brought knowledge into our head, and maybe some secrets to unravel. Because I know I've done a few drugs, a few entheogens, plant medicine. I'm a naturopathic professional. I've done healing. I've done court wellness, personal training for many years, and I've seen mind-blowing results. And I'm working with Johns Hopkins right now on their psilocybin research. And I'm working with Tim Ferriss, and I donate money towards these organizations. And what's happening is mainstream media is now taking note that these things worked, but they're late to the party. So what can you explain and maybe a story of how shifts you've seen with shamanic work and with plant medicine, and even with the ASC, with Peter running that organization, what he's doing, what tremendous impact it's having on the community? It
is amazing. Yeah, it's great that these things are coming now more to the mainstream, you know, and people, and it's infiltrating into people that have quite a lot of power and a lot of voice, which is great, because that's when it's really just like changing the planet very quickly. Of course, it does when the masses explore these things, but when people who have a voice explore these things and then share it with people, I mean, it's just like, it's huge. But yeah, it is good for unraveling, because we are in such the school system we go through and what we grow up around. There's a lot of, for example, competition, like what you were saying, comparing your thing to others, or getting worried, not as many likes, or when you put yourself out there, there's all these fears and stuff, because we learn competition from so young through sports. And I mean, it never made sense to me personally when I was younger. I couldn't understand it, but kids were very competitive and it was very encouraged. And I think that's also can be a way to keep people against each other and feel bad about, I don't know, like it's like the tall poppy syndrome as well. It's similar to that. Everyone keeping each other down through judgment, or people keeping themselves lower through fear of not having that success and things. So I think it's important to basically play, you know, to do what's beautiful to you, do what's right to you, and not be too attached to the outcome, because the rest will come. You'll be in exactly the right place. You'll speak to the right person who needs it. It's not about numbers or ego or what seems to be praised or whatever. So it's like letting go of that is like really hard, but just having trust that you're going to be in the right place at the right time. And with these medicines, I think that you remember that stuff. You remember the connection between people. You remember what's real, what's important, and you know, what to consider. But a lot of people do get into, I think, the psychedelics, and it just becomes that for them. Wow, I'm exploring other realms, and that's the main point for them. And I think what's important is to take those things and live them, and to share, you know, yeah, your voice, your stories, connect with people, because it's easy also to just go into that, you know, like just want to do that all the time, like go to ceremonies, and that really feels good, and you're like, yeah, this is awesome, and whatever, but then go back to life and nothing really changes or whatever. So I think it's good to bring those things into your life and live them, you know, live with integrity, and try to create what you're shown and what you remember when you take those substances, you know. And I've seen so many people, I mean, some people go to therapy for years and nothing works, and then they do a medicine, and it just, wow, they see themselves, you know, they understand who and why and the patterns that we live unconsciously. Because when you're in it, it's like so hard to see what's going on, you know, because you believe in it, and you don't question it, you're just living it. So when you take those plant medicines, you can see, like, as a human, where you're kind of at, and what you're doing, and if it's beneficial or if it's not, and, you know, patterns you're playing out. So you have that opportunity to shift a lot and to grow and to help others as well, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, you touched on so much that's hits home, and I'm very minimal in this field, but I've had my endeavors and plenty of, I guess, just bridging the line to the strength of the entheogens and the psychedelic studies. And they've been demonized for so long, but they've been a part of every single culture, from the Mayans to the Egyptians to modern day, to the 60s movements, to the peace and love movements. And also, what I feel like is they are teachers, and it's also access to some epiphanies and to realms of understanding. And I've had a couple visions that were such love and assurances in the path that I'm going towards, and assurances that you're heading in the right direction. Keep on doing that, and you are loved. You are the highest potent version of my creation. I also I you know, you can kind of navigate, you can kind of get the joystick and play around with it when you get a little bit more experienced, and you'll be able to, almost like in a dream, you get to move in like a whatever the dreaming is called, lucid dreaming.
I love lucid dreaming. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost the same way. And our brain, for those people who don't know about it, our brain emits DMT anyways when we're dreaming. It emits DMT during sex. It emits DMT when we're winning in a game. So we have all these emotions and these levels. But when we go to an authentic time where we want to seek answers, or we're changing careers, or we're having PTSD, or we're having depression that's over and over and over, and no matter what we do and what we tried, it wasn't good enough to get us past that level. And like, you know, there's levels of consciousness, there's levels of awareness. And, you know, it's like a religious leader or a great leader at work, they're at a higher level vibration of consciousness, because they're able to understand people, they're understanding, they're growing, they're evolving, they're doing a lot of exercises, they've gone to war, they've gone to advocacy work, they've done a lot. So, you know, we're all at different levels, but when we really need, we're feeling suicidal, we're feeling like dangerous, we're feeling like we need to commit harm, and like that's like we need to have sometimes a purging of all the pressures and all the dramatic experiences. Because, you know, you can go to a counselor for 20 years and they'll put you on all sorts of medication, they'll put you all sorts of traumatic things that they're just experimenting with your mind. But when you take something natural, your side effects are 0 to none, and there may be some visions. You might get eaten by a snake in a vision. You might have you know, fall off a cliff and you hit your head on a rock at the end of the cliff. But those are all symbolizations. And when we go through these practices and it's really merging into the field of behavioral psychology and modern medicine, we must, you know, those who are called. It's not per se a mainstream, everyone should do it and as a recreational thing like marijuana, but it's deep, and it will unlock certain parts of us and help us grow to the next version of ourselves, to get to the next stage of life, so that we can survive life, not just exist, but we can thrive in life, not just exist, and that we can realize things that are harming us right now, and that we can move forward in a conscious way, in a more precise way, because there's some sort of technology in these entheogens that are well beyond, and they know us thoroughly. It's almost like communicating with like the universe. It's almost like being plugged in, like in the Matrix, like back of the neck plugged in. I mean, these are like real strong ways to, and I wish the world leaders of this world would have access and do this more often. I think that's happening with a lot of
it's, yeah.
So that we can understand that certain systems of pollution and certain systems of commerce, that they're harming this world. And if we want to live and be able to breathe without oxygen masks pretty soon, we're going to need to make huge revolutionary changes. So any thoughts on what I just kind of rambled on?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why those are mostly illegal. Anything that, you know, activates the pineal gland, releases, or, you know, activates the DMT, the dimethyltryptamine, because those kinds of and the other plant healers, they open your mind and everything becomes so much clearer. And the governments and corporations and systems, instantly, it's like ridiculous. It's like some childish little puppet game that doesn't make any sense, that is destroying the world. And that becomes so clear and obvious that, of course, it has to be illegal. You know what I mean? It's a massive threat to the current system, but that's a good thing, obviously, because it needs to crumble, and new things need to come together, because this isn't working. It's like a suicide mission for Earth, you know? But these also are amazing in the way that you also die a lot in death experience with these plants. And that's interesting. And it's great, because in the West, I don't know, we don't focus on death at all. And it's like the only sure thing, I guess. And like the Tibetans, for example, I mean, they spend their lives studying about it, you know, thinking about it, paying attention to that, because it's where we're headed and it's a big part of our life, you know. But we kind of have this like weird taboo thing about it, where, and that's why it never made sense to me why people like accumulate as much as they can stuff, even if it's destroying the planet. People are willing to sacrifice the planet, even though they possibly have children and might like their children and following generations to enjoy Earth. It goes out of their mind, and they just like destroy the planet so that they can have more stuff in their tiny little flash of a lifetime. And I think, does it make them feel like they might live forever? Maybe somewhere in their mind they think, if I have more stuff, I'll be more attached to Earth and I won't die. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But these experiencing death when you're having a psychedelic experience is really helpful and good, because we don't learn about it, and it's going to be quite shocking, you know, when it happens. But if you explore that and those realms, and which is very clear to you,
can you explain
when you're there.
Can you explain
Sorry?
like? Can you explain like, just give the viewers like what it's like experiencing that in the communication with what you've learned?
Experiencing
like a situation that happened to you while under plant medicine.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the body dissolves, basically. So, you know, you kind of turn to ash. You're kind of, it's hard to explain, but it's pretty intense, because the other realms are so close, and they're there at all times, but we put so much focus on the physical dimension, which isn't actually physical, as we know now scientifically. Mm-hmm. That when that dissolves, it's very interesting. It's very uncomfortable, and I mean, I don't know how to explain.
What am I? Who am I? What is this body? What is?
Well, you're not thinking anymore either. It's just like dissolving, you know. And And yeah, so I've always been bad at trying to describe psychedelic experiences because it's something you kind of have to experience. But yeah, imagine, you know, the physical dimension dissolving. I mean, and then, so, which it will. When we don't have a body, we won't be in the physical dimension anymore. So it's great to explore in lucid dreaming, or if you can, or through meditation or through plant medicines, because there's a whole other, well, not just one dimension, many dimensions there that we're a part of, that we're, you know, that are a big part of our lives. So
yeah, it's kind of like a sort of a visual experience on, and a symbolization on a path that we should choose. And if you can interpret and understand it, like after the session, a lot of times there'll be a communication, and people can talk about what they went through, because it's so profound, and it's like such a profound memory that you will be able to describe it. And you may go through 4 hours of rough pathways, and nothing may make sense, and it's entertaining. You're in this interesting world of different colors and sacred geometry. You know, it's all mathematical kind of worlds. And then you may see something that looks to be this beautiful screensaver of life, and then you may meet teachers along the journey. You may meet past loved ones. You may see people that have died, and there's sort of an energy there that can communicate something like it's going to be okay, it's going to be all right, and you'll have closure, you'll have forgiveness. And then when you get out of the session, I'll give you an example. Like I felt like I was done with one of my careers that I was in, and that I've gotten the most out of it, and I was holding on to it, and like I was laid down. I almost fell through these spikes, and I was submerged on a spike, and I was just there. I was alive, but like the breath and the blood and everything was coming out, and I was like, I'm fine. I'm still laying here. I'm still alive. But metaphorically, it was like an explanation, because of it, like told me like it was going through situations of what I was involved in, and you know, it was just this this world that I was on a spike. But I don't want to beat this conversation to death. But I pretty much was reborn in a metaphysical sense, and then I was like, I had such energy the next day and the next week, and I didn't have the anxiety, and I didn't have the pressure in my mind anymore, that I was just solidly accepting of that. And I think so much we're like trapped in this prison of mind, and it's just kind of a way to, you know, get past our midlife crisis, get past our teenage years, and get into our 30s, and get into our careers, and get into our relationships, and kind of forgive all that, you know, trauma and that past and that whatever, and then realize that it's not so serious. It's going to be okay. It's going to be tremendous moving forward, as long as we can get rid of the past, because that doesn't exist anymore, and sort of come to an understanding. It doesn't have to be so voodoo. It doesn't have to be so serious. It doesn't have to be so scary. But I know so many people and families have drug addicted relatives, and people that are sickly, and they're taking so much pharmaceuticals. They're in drugs. They're in mud. They're laying down with swine. They're like stabbing themselves every day, because that's all they know. And all it would take is 1 to 2 to 3 sessions with someone very professional, and maybe change a little bit of their lifestyle, so they have a well-rounded wellness program. And now that mainstream medicine and allopathic and quantum medicine and the schools I'm attending are all preaching to, you know, accept the whole realm of Ayurvedic medicine, the full realm of Andean medicine, and a lot of people dismiss allopathic medicine being only one portion of healing. So it's exciting days, and you know, you're well more versed in it than I am, but I think it's something that we're now accepting as truth, and it's not for everyone. And I really advocate leaders to explain and write more, and really look at Terence McKenna's lectures, and really go through Graham Hancock's experiences, and Joe Rogan's experiences, and Duncan Trussell's experiences, and Aubrey Marcus's experiences, because these are all on podcasts. These are all on YouTube videos that you can kind of hear from people who are versed, and Amber with resetme.com, she's doing tremendous work in healing all sorts of amazing people and bringing people to their higher selves, their greatest potentials. And yeah, definitely it's something we can get away from, you know, and unplug a bit and get towards our great level of life. Henneka, what, I know we're gonna totally flip this subject here. Now, you're in Europe right now. What do you think on this current crisis in Europe or influx of refugees? How can people not live in fear of a lot of the refugees? What's the sort of, what's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can speculate or comment on that much, because for one, I try to, although I like being informed and the news and things, I try to not get too into it. It's that balance, which I find really hard, because I don't want to be ignorant to what's going on, but also it is, well, one, it's a lot of propaganda often, and two, it's not really helpful to my, you know, to, I don't know, I'm always trying to work out what way is better, actually, to know completely what's going on or to try to avoid what's going on, because
balance.
Yeah, because going into the fear isn't helpful, I think, basically. So if watching that stuff's going to make you fearful of immigrants, blah, 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 don't watch it, you know what I mean? Because being in a state and a vibration of love and trust is the best chance you have of spreading that and of attracting that and of living that. And so, I mean, it's a hard situation with the immigrants and the earth right now, because I can see many people's perspectives, and it is hard. It's like, I believe compassion and inclusion and helping anyone who's needs something, you know. I think that we all need to have that. Like, I love Amma, you know, she's this incredibly compassionate teacher, and you know, when she was younger, she would bring in homeless, you know, people and bathe them and feed them, and her family would be like, what are you doing? Like, you can't do that, they might do this, you know. It's like fear of the stranger, you know. But there is truth in that. It's like, you kind of have to have boundaries, you know, as a country, as a person, as whatever. It's like, what boundaries do you make? And because it would be best to just be completely open at all times, but often that doesn't work. I've done that with you know, people at times that have been like broken or needed something or whatever, and I've just, okay, and it's been very damaging to me, actually. So it is that difficult thing of like trying to find out a solution. So yeah, I don't know much about the immigrant situation right now. I mean, I do watch the stuff, but I don't know what the solution is, you know, because I feel for them. I feel a lot of compassion for people that are in these awful situations in the world, that are wars funded by, you know, the West. It's a really sick situation that, you know, we've kind of created and then don't want to deal with. And what do you do with that, you know?
Yeah, I'll play devil's advocate for a minute. Yeah, you said a lot of things that are spot on, and I definitely agree with the compassion part. It really is. And then the boundaries, you said, healthy boundaries are great. And I think that's what's happening now in Europe and in America and even in Australia with the boat peoples and things of that nature. And, you know, I think it's an attempt to modernize a bit of the world and to, you know, get people out of harm's way too. If I was a civilian, you got to put yourself in those shoes. If I had family there, where would I go? I mean, the most common answer would be, I'd go to somewhere that's safer, that has structure, that has those areas. And again, like all the propaganda that's fed in those worlds too, and then those other worlds, I guess truth will help come out. And a lot of the religions are you know, really influential, and a lot of on both sides and every side. And it will take some time. It'll take some healing, and we must stay diligent and healthy and help bring forth good education and try not to have the hate speech as much. Think of the positives along the line. And we have open borders here in America, and worked out quite great. There's always the other side, but you know, my Mexican brothers, my Canadian brothers from both sides of our spheres, they've done a lot of great work, and they're doing almost all the labor here. They're incredibly helpful. They're great with tools, great with almost every single restaurant has Spanish immigrants working in this country. I mean, you know, you have some great skilled labor. You have some great stuff. And again, you know, I'm an advocate for people. I'm not an advocate for delusion. There's fire fights fire at some points, and then water puts out fire. So you know, it's always the world always goes through like shifts. I just hope that as conscious people, as leaders, we can kind of put out fires before it gets too crazy, and it gets the universe will balance itself out. But we don't want to see anything World War III, World War II, or anything like that. I don't want to talk too much to that to death. But you know, it really comes down to, you know, having good leadership, and really comes down to there's a dark side in this world. We know that there's a dark side in it. There's a yin and yang, and sometimes balance comes into effect, and I just try to focus on problems that I'm capable of solving or educating. So yeah, that's probably as much as we can really do at this point.
But it's hard to, because the only thing that can solve these issues is love and compassion and forgiveness. So it's letting go of what's happened and moving on. But when of course it's hard to live by that when the others aren't, or something. If there's other people or whatever that are in the hatred, of course it's hard for you to stay in that. So yeah, finding that balance is very hard. But it's just, if people always then get angry and judge, it's like victim becomes perpetrator. It just goes in a cycle and a cycle and cycle. And that's what's happened throughout the whole of, you know, human history, is just the victim becomes then the villain. And, you know, because we always feel like this hate and resentment towards what the other did. And then in that way, it never stops. So if we could collectively just go, okay, and drop it, then that would be great. But yeah, it's easier said than done. It's very complicated. Yeah,
you start getting into, I think the universe, we're going to say, a form of God takes over at that point. And as people with the internet, I hope that everything can always stabilize in some ways, and that we can find the truth and then balance it out with leadership. And it really comes down to the people. It really does. And don't always believe in your government, but believe in the people. Because no matter where you travel to, I've been helped out by Muslims. I have been helped out by Buddhists. I've been helped out at sea by Cubans. I've been helped out on the road by my friends, you know, having a stick through my leg. I've had all sorts of occurrences, and at deep down, through crisis, humans come together. I mean, we can see that with the tsunami, the World Trade Center. We can see that through, you know, all sorts of balanced world. I think that as people, we're all pretty amazing people as a whole. I mean, there's going to be your bad seeds, but you know, let's actually vote for having a great life, and the haves and the have-nots. Obviously, it's going to balance out.
Yeah, I hope that we drop the imaginary lines, borders, the flags, and the labels eventually at some point, because I really don't think that they help. You know, the illusion of separation is crazy, and also shifting from an external imaginary God back to the earth, which is basically whether or not an invisible God made the earth or not. Fact is, the earth is our God, is our mother, is our provider. And I think when we connect to that common thing, and the fact that we have one home and that we are one race, we are one whatever, we can connect again as brothers and sisters, you know, because the separation thing with the lines and the flags and the patriotism, and I think that's quite, it doesn't help at all.
Yeah, it definitely, you got to have a little bit of pride, but it also comes down to balance that, you know, this is America, this is Canada, this is Mexico. But if you travel to all three places, I love all three. And I spent many times in those areas. And I've had some of the best times ever. And I love those people. The Canadians are some of the best people ever. And they're the nicest people. When you travel, follow a Canadian. And if you want to go to Mexico, they're the best hostesses ever. You go to Cancun or Baja, Malibu, or down the road in Ensenada, you have the most amazing spirit, you have the most amazing food, you have the most hospitality and tequila and burritos and everything. It's amazing.
That's because like it's the same thing, right? It's like we're calling it what we've named it now, but it's ultimately not that. You know, it's only Mexico because we recently called it Mexico. It's only Canada because we recently called it Canada. You know, really it's just people with different experiences sharing different, you know, maybe different foods, maybe different cultures. But yeah, totally. You can everywhere there's beautiful people and shitty people, and you can definitely go and feel like family in any place, because it's literally only us that have put these like differences, you know, on it, you know, same. Yeah. So yeah. So what you're saying is, yeah.
Multiculturalism always does win, because if you have multiculturalism, then you just can't attack one place, or you can't attack the beliefs of one place, because you have multi-religions. I mean, just in this area right here, there's like 15 religions. There's 15 places of worship. So you can't demonize it, because they're in the country. They're part of the system. They're part of the economy. They're part of, and you know, just across the road, we got Bangladesh over here working in the IT buildings. And then you have, I got 15 different places of, in the political area in DC. You have 15 different offices of immigration. You have 15 offices of embassies. You have almost every single nation represented here, which is amazing. And their voice is so influential. And, you know, I got a friend who's in the Cairo embassy, and they have all the, they're from the arts of antiquities, and they tell their stories, and they talk about Cairo and how their leadership was through social media, and they brought down huge dictatorships through social media and people getting together. So there's all sorts of stories like that, and I think we should focus on, as hard as it is, because there's racism in every group of people, and everyone has an ingrained sense to hang out with the community that's most like us. But then it's like, okay, you can fight back with that and be awakened and say, look, they're not so bad. I got a friend who's Muslim, who's awesome. I got a friend who's Indian, who's awesome. I got a friend who's Chinese. Oh my God, they're the greatest food, greatest hard workers. And I got some white friends that are like so sporty and athletic, and they love to do fun stuff. They're great musicians. So everyone has their strengths as a whole, but then everyone's individual as a whole too. So yeah, we're spot on with that. I think we've covered as much as we can on that topic, and hopefully someone listens and goes, wow, okay, I can see that. Wow, that right. So Henneka, let me ask you about your last year adventure, because I mean, you've really taken on a hero's journey, and we'll go more in depth. Like, what's up with leaving Australia, and then what happened? What kind of adventures did you go
on? In Japan, it was great. I just reconnected to old friends, went to a new beautiful place there, and my friend had she was the first gaijin, the first Westerner to get married in this beautiful temple in a little island in Japan, which was super delicious, because Tokyo is one kind of culture, and then, you know, country island Japan is a whole other world. So that was really nice. I think from there I went to Switzerland and saw a friend there, and went to a yoga festival thing there, and that was cool. And then I went to Paris, which was really interesting, because I met with this beautiful, interesting being who I met about 4 or 5 years ago for about half an hour in a train station in Berlin. So this is what happens. This is why I always recommend just like opening your heart to the world, because the funniest little things happen. It was through couch surfing. So we didn't stay together, but it was like a meetup. So we just met up for a beer. And I mean, I didn't think much of it, and kind of forgot about that, and we were in touch online. But for the next 4 or 5 years and until now, he's been like drawing and painting me. So I became a muse, which has been this really interesting experience, because I think that's now, I think it's an interesting idea and notion that artists have muses, and what is that? And anyway, so that's been interesting. But then after 4 years, he wanted to meet up, and he was in Europe at the time. So I was like, okay. So we got this little apartment in Paris, and just like had this really like interesting kind of romantic kind of week, you know. It was very interesting. POWEROFBROKE, listening to that, exploring the city, and one of the cutest moments was he did my makeup, my lipstick, and he was very excited because it was like a 3-dimensional version of his muse. You know, he's been painting my face for years, and then he was painting my real face, and so that was just very precious, kind of like a movie, you know, like it was like a love story, and he's always been a really beautiful love presence in my life. So that was very interesting, and now he's back in Argentina, and then I went to Ibiza and had really interesting journeys there, and met really beautiful Native American Mexicans, and learn a bit more about that culture, and that was beautiful. And yeah, so it's been crazy, and then coming to England, and a lot of beautiful gatherings here, spiritual gatherings, and connecting to a really nice community here. And it's just amazing how it is everywhere, and just like having trust and open heart, and just the next thing, synchronicities, basically following synchronicities. You're just having trust, going out there. Well, also I missed out Portugal, which was an interesting stop off, because I was there for about 24 hours, but it was to see my auntie speak about polyamory at the convention. It was called the Non-Monogamies and Contemporary Intimacies Convention. It was the first one of its kind at the University of Lisbon, and that was also very interesting. And that's a topic that's been showing itself, you know, in different scenarios and people and words and experiences, that fascinates me as well. The whole relationship thing between two people, and what the best way is, or whatever, because, you know, both kind of make sense, and through humanity and throughout different cultures, many different styles have been lived and gone by. And I suppose we live in a monogamous society mostly. It's very encouraged to find a partner and get married and do that, you know, nuclear family, which I've always like questioned. But yeah, so that's an interesting. What do you think about that? What do you think's the style of relationship?
Yeah, that's a big one in my life too. I mean, I read the book Sex at Dawn and Truth, and
I'm reading that.
Oh, you are? There you go.
Yeah,
there's
give it to me. Yeah.
At Burning Man, there was like 20 conferences on that. I mean, the San Francisco polyamory world's huge. San Diego way of life is huge. Naturally, it's very encouraging to understand that there's more to life than just one human being that's going to be in your life forever. And I believe in love, but I also believe in novelty, because there's all these different elements of how we can live life and be happy and to be fulfilled and to not have all these labels. And either way, human beings are watching pornography. We're watching all sorts. We're reading romance novels. 50 Shades of Grey was 250 million people, almost 1/4 of a billion people. And then the movies on top of that, all sorts of people were into it. And we're tapping into what fantasies and what makes us feel alive and what makes us feel thriving. So there's, on a male and female role, we must merge, of course, because that gives us our male femininity and masculinity together, and we strive towards that. But, you know, we have different gender roles, we have different sexual preferences, we have our different fetishes. But we also, I mean, to create a family, I mean, that's a tough job. I mean, you're going to need a male and female to raise a proper or a community around to raise a great family. So I'm spot on. I don't know enough, and I think in the future there's going to be options out there. But you sort of get this greasy fetal, if you sort of believe in that, you get this like judgment everywhere, and it's like, and you just realize the animal kingdom is not monogamous, and we're animals. So how do we pursue that? Some
animals are monogamous, actually. The sea, the dolphin. There are many that are, they mate for life, you know, the penguin, some of my favorites. So yeah, I mean, I think it's worth exploring, but I think, yeah, some of us are monogamous and some are polyamorous. I think the main thing is to be transparent and have enough courage and trust to be honest, because there's a lot of deception going on, people hiding things because they want this and they want that, and they're worried that, you know, I think that's where courage and bravery in life is important, and that you get rewarded for that, because I think it's with polyamory, for example, it's everyone understands, you know, it's that everyone has that understanding. So it's very different to deceiving or cheating or whatever. So if somebody wants multiple partners, instead of having to cheat like they did for so many years or whatever, just be, well, single and have many, or be polyamorous. There are different ways to do it now, which is great, because I think some people are happy with one, or serial monogamy, where it's maybe not forever, but it's one at a time, you know. I'm feeling like maybe that's where I'm most comfortable and enjoy, because I think, you know, energetically you can spread and you've got pros and cons, and you're going to learn in that way, but you're all, you know, or you can focus into one, you know. And for me, ultimately, feminine, masculine, human, whatever, I mean, one, it's all mirrors. So working with one deeply, it's, for me, I don't feel I need many, because it's the same thing, you know what I mean? It's like we're all one, and so you're going to get what you need to learn and what you need to see in yourself. I think you learn a lot about yourself when you go deep with one person, but you also learn a lot by being with many. I mean, my auntie has believed in polyamory forever. She also has said that it's never quite worked, but then neither does monogamy. You know, it's like that. It's such an interesting topic, because we haven't really found something that works perfectly. Or maybe some people have, you know, but it's always going to be complicated, I think, relationship, you know, like, and having stuff come up, because it just brings so much of yourself up, you know, from childhood or insecurities or parts of yourself. And so it's a work, you know, it's a type of work. Being single can be easier in that way, but then it's good to get into it, you know, and see what comes up.
Right. The role of marriage being economic, being like family oriented, being
Agriculture.
Yeah, agriculture. There's a lot of ways, and you know, having multiple kids in a community, if you're you know, indigenous, creates the work release, and creates, and if you're at a chieftain role, I mean, or if you're alpha male or great leader, or you have great genes, you have a productive mind, or you have just an ability of higher testosterone. There's a lot of factors, mind, body, and spirit, that play into that. And I think we're living in a really polyamory society, with Tinder blowing rampant, with like 100 million users, and there's all sorts of Ashley Madison that happened in the States, where there was like over like 50 million cases of people that were dating behind their backs. And then there's the sugardaddy.com. There's a lot of people are attracted to resources, and people are attracted to people doing great things, and courageous people, and resources again comes into the factor. But then for pleasure, I mean, like the internet is actually running, mostly all the innovations are coming from pornography. And that's why the video chat that we're on right now has been invented. So we got to deal with these issues. Are we emotionally cheating? Are we cheating because we're watching something on TV or looking at a magazine that we're finding someone attracted to? And so yeah. I think we got to go with our natural instincts eventually. But then love is a totally different topic. If you have a soulmate, that is a friendship. That's a bonding. And yeah, you can hurt somebody. And that's why it usually doesn't work. If you find your soulmate, probably not the best thing. But you're going to still need some sort of release down the road, because you go, like Helen Fisher talks about this. She talks about the 3 stages of intimacy. And, you know, in the very beginning, 1 to 3 years is an infatuation. There's this magnetic pull. There's this glue that sticks you together. And then you go through 5 years, it's more like comfortable. And then you go through like 20 years, which this day and age is very rare. And you're just going, all right, how can we sort of balance this? And how can we get to that level of, you know, if you want to raise kids, and I think all of us want to procreate at some point, how do we navigate that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think yeah, it is an interesting one, because we're so oversensitized these days. I think sexuality has been used as another tool to keep us quite numb and on a low vibration. I mean, just everything. I mean, look, years ago when the lyrics of a song were like, I want to hold your hand, and it was very cute and innocent, and now it's like, I want your ass in my face, you know, like it's different. We're very, we now, and then people look for more and more and more. If they're not connected spiritually, they're going to look for some kind of stimulation, you know what I mean? And it always goes deeper because you get desensitized by seeing so much just sex in your face from porn, or even if turning on the television, you know what I mean? It's all sex, 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 because it is such a deep thing that we're connected to, that now it's being used in that way. And I think ultimately really kind of disconnecting us from true sacred spirituality in a way. And I think that if you're conscious in your relationships, you can see things from so many different ways that you can make choices. You can either be in a relationship and then when you're done and you've done your learning together and you know, whatever, then okay, go apart. You don't need to hate each other because it's over. You know, you can be friends, it evolves into friendship, and then you meet with someone else who you have your story with, because it's always a part of growth, and you know, you've always got something to learn from that. I mean, my brother was born, and my father and the mother wasn't, they were never like in a relationship, you know. I mean, you can co-parent and have two happy homes. You can, there are so many things, but I think if you do want one partner for life, if you're on a conscious journey, I think it is possible. Like, there are some great loves that I love. I mean, you know, David Bowie, he just died, and he was with Iman for 22 years, and they were so in love. And then Will and Jada Smith, I think they're really amazing. They keep each other very, very interested through philosophy and reading books together, thinking about different things. Like, I think if you're both growing and you're on that path, and you want to be dedicated to each other, you know, because life's about conscious choices, and the chemical reaction that makes us like, they can do no wrong and I'm so in love. Yeah, it's between 1.5 to 2.5 years, I think, then they wear off. And then it's more of a decision, you know, it's more of a family and a soul connection. And so I think it depends, but I think we need to allow space for our partners to change, to be honest, and to also change what they think and feel. You know, we might want this at this point, and down the road we want something else. So I think we need to allow ourselves that space to keep the conversation open, and to allow ourselves and the other to evolve, and to always, you know, be open to what they want next. It might change, but to be honest, you know.
Wow, so deep, and so it hits home in many different ways, because now we can actually have this conversation. And like, I just see like so many trends. When you really awaken a little bit, you start seeing trends. You start seeing friends that are in relationships, that get out of relationships, and you sort of are like, you hope to have something that's gonna be fulfilling in the future, and that it's not gonna be just short term. And then you're like, where's the world going? You have to sort of choose your path that fits right for you, but then you can never really you know, predict where your partner is going to go. So it is a culture that sort of just wants instant gratification, and it's not. It's a culture very like technologically moving towards virtual love interest and virtual dating and virtual this, and it's like you got all these new things that are coming out, but you know, keeping it old school and learning from our parents and our grandparents and how they successfully navigated all these, you know, different levels. But then we got the internet, we need to have more leaders, and people have paved this road, and to teach, you know, the next generation, because I see a lot of people with no social skills, sexual trauma, or a lot of people who have no ability to sustain a relationship, or once they have a relationship, they fly away and they push people away from their relationship. So yeah, I think there needs to be a lot more knowledge going down this road. And again, Neil Strauss hits it on the dot with truth. And he's one of those guys who was an alpha male, and he found the woman of his dreams, and he went through a whole journey and searched out ways to fulfill himself and different relationships, and then he ultimately went back to the love of his life and had a kid, and that was fulfilling for him in this stage in his life. So I think we got to push past these small indifferences and build our relationship strength, because and if anything goes wrong, there's 15 people waiting in the and on the bench waiting to date someone of a high social caliber, or a beautiful person in their youth. But youth is going to fade, looks are going to fade. So it's sort of, who are you as a person? What character, what willpower do you have?
Exactly. I know the whole Tinder thing and just swiping. It's like, no, no, no. It's like in that, you know, I mean, back in the day, it's like a man you might go to where he knew that she would be every day just to see her, just to have a little walk together, something like that, you know. And it's like then it was so much more easy to dedicate yourself to one person in that circumstance. But, you know, times have changed and it's just very, you know, we've got so many distractions and so many options and so many, you know, it's hard. It's like if you want to dedicate to one person, I think also, I think like also, you know, waking up and doing gratitude every morning really helps your life. And I think if you want to be with one person, waking up and kind of like worshiping them, you know what I mean, as your thing, I think positive focus on that person is really important because we're everywhere, you know, on our minds, like, look over there, look over there. So it's just about, you know, making the decision about which one you want, which path you want. And there's no wrong or right. I think as long as everybody's respecting each other and being open and allowing the others to make their choices also, then yeah, it's just a big play, just exploration, isn't it? Like anything else, just no one knows what's going on.
Exactly. Henneka, let me ask you a question. What do you, because I really trust your like your knowledge on these topics. Now, what do you think the male and female role should be in society? Is it evolving? Is it sort of, is there a certain natural tendency for certain providing roles and certain success patterns that have worked in the last 1,000 years? And is a lot of the stuff that we're being fed by the media, like Sex and the City, or like sort of misogyny-based political dramas that we get caught up in, how do we sort of navigate what we should feel about our roles in society as males and females, and then how do we work together?
Yeah, that's a really big one because I can see so many different perspectives on that topic, and it's something I'm quite interested in. But it's a hard one to just, in short, say what I think about that, because I do think, you know, we have fundamental differences, you know, male and female. But in saying that, there isn't just two genders. There's more coming out now, you know, more of a mix between the two, and men that are more nurturing, and with women that are more, you know, going out there and stuff like that. So I'm always exploring my own opinions on that, because there are so many angles to things to consider. But yeah, I think it's about what you tap into, what it means to you. You know, to some women, tapping into their femininity means like going out and getting a career and like being a difference maker and doing things, you know, being really productive and being really outward energy. Because one thing I remember from a dating night at Kabbalah in New York many years ago, the man was saying the difference between the masculine and feminine energies. And he explained it like the masculine being an emanation of energy. So it's outward, you know, it's an energy that goes outward. I guess like our sexual organs as well. And the female more like a chalice, like a holding thing. So he was saying that men need women to bounce off, like to, even if they're like gay or whatever, just a friend, or to shoot their energy into and have something to kind of structure that a bit. And that women don't actually need, they often feel like they need that emanation to fill their cup, but they can actually fill their own cup if they understand it. I don't know, that just came to my mind, and I always found that very interesting. But how that relates to what I was saying, I don't know. I think that you've got to kind of work out, well, yeah, what it means to you to be a man or a woman. You know what I mean? Because for some, it's being a mother at home and nurturing. For some, it's going out. You know, there are so many different ways to express feminine and masculine. And I think it doesn't matter what your gender is. You may, you know, relate to either one, and in so many different ways, that it's just nurturing that, you know, and in whichever way that is, instead of having expectations that you're a woman, so this is what you've got to do, and you're a man, so this is what you've got to do. Because right now that's changing so much and everyone's so confused. I think it's a bit of a pendulum swinging, you know, before it kind of finds its balance and whatever, because it's changing a lot. So it's a big topic. Yeah.
I don't think the men of this era really understand what it takes to be a strong man, and some do that have gotten through military, gotten through sort of hard tasks. And I look back at great leaders and Winston Churchill and Teddy Roosevelt and Nelson Mandela, and I do see strength in the ability to lead and protect and procreate and to provide. And there is a certain I feel it inside of me when I'm paying for a date and someone says no, they don't want to be vulnerable in that way. I feel the anatomy difference. I feel such when I do tap into that more aggressive, more just primal instincts, I feel alive. I feel also the balance of femininity in myself too, because I do care. I do want to be practicing chivalry, and then I see a lot of the balance in a great man, and I just don't think there's a lot of leaders, and the media tries to trick us into thinking that a lot of men are idiots and that we need someone to help solve issues for us. I don't think that's accurate at all. And bravery and doing great deeds for a lady. And I just came across this picture of like a knight with a huge spear, and he's coming by the palace overlooking the kingdom, and he's going to war, and he's kissing his lady goodbye, and she's gonna wait for him and things of that nature. I think a lot of those things in those social situations come into effect, and a lot of what media is filling and culture is filling this world is kind of weakening what makes us attracted to each other in some ways. But again, it's a balance. But I believe that we got to look at the history of it all first and foremost, and then adapt to the modern day and age. And of course, I mean, if you look at someone who has is attracted to the same race, I think we've had that happen in our culture too, and they do embrace the male and feminine very well, and they I have a lot of friends in that realm too, and I hold nothing against them. That's how they were born. But we will attract.
You mean same gender, not same race? Sorry, you're talking about homosexuality.
Yeah, both same gender, same race, or different gender, but also in the homosexual realm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think that when it comes down to it, I believe that most people are going to be attracted to a certain form of masculinity, and that we have to define it better. It's not just how the movie defines it, but again, a person that's a hero, that a person that's going to protect, and a person that's going to stay diligent, and a person that's going to provide and is going to be there for the long term, also is so valiant and not rewarded enough. But you could see people who have made it together, in leadership roles. They've had two people merge together, and they were that much stronger. So I think we got to really reward that in this day and age, and keep on searching if you haven't found your true love or your soulmate. And it may not be perfect either, so don't give up.
Absolutely. I just have two perspectives on that are a bit opposing. It's like that I thought of because I'm a feminist. I think most people should be. It's about equality, and I think that women have a long way to go. But I do feel for men also in these times, because there's confusion. I mean, we are fed a narrative and a story since we're young. The fairy tales and the pressures that men have to be whatever, and then the pressures that so it's hard because that is changing now, that with the genders, gender roles, blah blah blah, whatever. But I have often felt that, like for example, in a native tribe, where there's a certain point in teenhood where the man is sent out, the boy is sent out rather, to survive in the woods and do a certain initiation process. Yes. And when he comes back, he knows that he's a man then. And I do seem to think that there's something, not for every man, because some want to do, other feminine things, but for the one that's very masculine that way, I think that really serves them, because they have a point where they know, oh, I'm a man now, and they have this pride and they have this responsibility, and I think it really serves them, and they can feel really good about themselves. and they can feel really strong. And I do think that there are a lot of boys in this society, because we're just playing video games until we're to our adults, and that's it. There's no transition period or whatever. And with women, I mean, you could say maybe we bleed, like our period could be an initiation into womanhood in a way. It's like things changing in that way, you know. But with men, I think, you know, with their natural characters, it can be good for some of them to have that point, and we're missing that in this society. So I think that they can end up confused, don't know how to really be, but it's hard because, you know, a lot of women, you know, don't like the chivalry thing, for example. I mean, I'm feminist, but I love the chivalry thing. I'm like, if the guy's like being like that, I love it. I think it's really beautiful, and I felt like held as a female, but you know, not everyone's like that. That's the thing. Everyone's different these days. To some women, that's insulting, or to some men, that's not fair and not where they're at. Or everyone's different. So I guess you gotta, find your match and stuff, and keep your mind open, you know.
And when we go through pre-civilization, we didn't have protectors, and a lot of, you know, when we're drifting in life, we don't really get far. When we're not providing, how can we have the resources to build? And then we don't have philosophical or moral values or boundaries. How can we sustain that pyramid? So you're spot on with the rites of passage, and I'm still going through my rites of passage too, and going through my journeys. And when I went through world travel, when I survived a shark attack, when I survived different crazy adventures on motorcycle across India, when I went to trekked base camp in Everest and things of that nature, I had a feeling of I was capable, and I was capable of more than just I thought I was through what society told me to go to college, which I did too, and which and played you know, semi-pro rugby. I felt strong then too, but you know, I still got a lot of ways to go, and it's like it never ends. But you know, you said rites of passage, and you know, through the indigenous groups, they really have this down to a key, where they go on a spirit quest, and the Aboriginals go through a walkabout, and then Mayans go and take poisonous ants and lay on a hill, and you have all sorts of bungee jumping where you're jumping down on this vine, and if you survive, you're a man, you know. And a lot of those rituals are missing, and they're adapted, and they may not be strong enough. But the military, usually you can see a huge difference in someone. I work with recon specialists, and I work with hunters, and I work with people who have gotten a spiritual involvement with the land, and they learned how to bring home their own food, and they grow their own crops as farmers. So there's a lot of these there's not just one way, but like doing something that with your hands, and doing something that you fix something, you build something, and then you can provide for yourself. Self-reliance is an important lesson, and philosophy, being able to question, is really important. And you just got to keep on doing things. I mean, I'm going shooting tonight, even though I may not need a weapon of that caliber. I'm still going shooting because it makes it's just such a way to get into flow state. It's feeling capable. It's feeling confident. It's knowing that I can survive an attack, and it's feeling I do jujitsu so I can protect my family or my loved ones, or when I'm with my girlfriend, or whatever works in that setting. So I'm around other males at some points, and I feel threatened at some point when I wasn't protecting my body and my confidence. And I just had this, I do have a more confident feel when I do partake in these activities. But I think the activities have been dumbed down, like you said, video games. You shouldn't be cooking. You shouldn't be shopping because that's not your role. No, you need to get into these abilities to cook. You need to get these abilities to communicate, abilities to practice chivalry, even if it's not accepted, because you know, you will find someone that just naturally loves someone just protecting them, opening doors, and it's like it's not common, but be uncommon. Be an authentic man. And
I can be quite chivalrous. It doesn't have to. Yeah, it can be. I mean, you're gonna get it crossover, and yes, I just exactly. And you do. You have to find your own initiations. So good on you for finding the initiations and the things that you go through to make you feel like you've reached that, you know, next level of strength and you know, it's spiritual strength, and it's responsibility and trust in your abilities and stuff like that. So yeah, we've got to find our own these days, but it would be really beautiful if there were workshops for teenagers, you know, to go and make things, make food, make baskets, go in to do the warrior thing. Like, it'd be so nice, you know. And yeah, you can
work on that.
Yeah, it would be really beneficial. But yeah, we've become domesticated.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it's just you know, being your own person. And again, even if I do all these activities, like you said, I'm really learning that, yeah, if I can fix or sew something, or a pair of pants that broke, or whatever, just doing that, it gets me into like a flow state where I really feel good about, you know, being able to not just buy new things, but fix things. And
nice.
I can get myself out of addictions, which I feel strong about doing. And then when it comes down to like dealing with somebody who's crying in front of me and that's feeling pain, I do my best to nurture them and embrace a femininity part that's ingrained in me. I don't just have to be a rose petal, but I can definitely offer advice, or, you know, be a shoulder to cry on if someone's going through pain, and still embrace you know, my manlyhood or whatever that is in this day and age. But I feel like a lot of times society is maybe pushing back on that too much, and again, pushing even like when you see a girl on Instagram who's taking the most beautiful photo and she's gets like 17 million likes because of that beautiful portrayal of softness and femininity and just a sexy pose, and just looks like a deer, you know, just such a glimpse of beauty and art, and it touches a man so profoundly that it's instinctual. And I do embrace that as well, and I don't think everyone needs to toughen up. I think be vulnerable as well, and you'll attract great men, you'll attract real men, and it's coming to the point where, yeah, like different cultures that have had hardships, they came from a different country, you may find yourself attracted to them. They're like, wow, what is this? Like, I don't understand why this sort of this vibration or this vibe that you're putting out, I'm so attracted to. So embrace that, because it may be instinctual that person's right for you. And you know, it's not, there's no solution. It's your own individual solution.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I really enjoy like hearing the male and female perspective and sort of, you know, debating it in a way that we can uniquely understand each other, and having the intellectual capacity to see the sort of social constraints and what sells in marketing and what is common now, not being the solution, but what's now, but not the future of what's going to bring male and females together and not separate us. Because I feel like media is always trying to pull us apart, pull us from being together, pull us from being friends, pull us from going to the same schools, pull the economic floor underneath us. But, you know, it's just about community. It's about being one, and like really being who you are and not being a front because of the movies you saw. And you know, it's cool, you know, just kind of evolving yourself to just have an open mind.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of separation between everything, genders, races, countries, species, whatever. And back in the day when we had tribes, something that was really beautiful about that is when the children were growing up, they had so many influences, uncles and aunties. So that, you know, if you have a dad and a mum that's one way, you might not connect to that. These days, you're just, oh, okay. Then you've got no alternative to feel and experience. But back then, you would just go and hang out with all the elders and all the aunties and uncles and be exposed to all these different characters and abilities. And then you could be exposed to that and kind of tap into what resonates with you, because we all are so different. And we all have a different balance of the masculine and feminine and interests and how we want to be, expressing and creating. So, yeah.
I love that. You nailed it on the head. You just literally hammered down that, like, such truth that I'm like blown away by that. Because community, right? It used to be set up a certain way. And I read a book called The Blue Zone, and it shows places that are thriving to the highest levels of health, wealth, love, and happiness. and it shows places like Sardinia, Okinawa, Japan, Linda Vista, California.
Adventists.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're living not because of society, they're closed off from society, but the ways that they've been thriving, they're getting plenty of sunshine, plenty of laughing, plenty of good food, plenty of good love, plenty of good natural medicine, and coming together as a community, respecting their elders, loving their community, and not just raising the family in one little setting, but having the uncles, the aunts, having the traditional foods, the cultures, the customs, the rituals that really embrace them. And they're living to it like 105 with bright, clear eyes, with healthy skin, with hair on top of their head, with muscles that are shining, with sexual drive, without any pharmaceuticals. So we can live like this. I wrote a whole chapter on anti-aging, and I studied this in depth, and it really, really brought me to a moment where I'm going to take all these to my family. I'm going to help out my community. I'm sharing it with my brothers and sisters and friends and family. And, 1 out of 5 will say, yeah, I'll try something like that. But 4 out of 5 will go, not so much. I'm going to listen to my doctor, my politician, my religious guru, whatever. And then they sort of but 1 out of 5 will be like, oh, I'm going to try that. And then they're like astounded by the turmeric tea, all sorts of licorice when they have problems with their stomach, oregano oil when they get a flu, cordyceps, mushroom reishi powder for overall immunity, reishi for all sorts of health, the clear skin, all that good stuff. I got it all in my house right here. I got Mayan, Andean, Japanese medicine, all sorts of things, and I'm collaborating at which one works for me. And I'm drinking hemp protein right here with oranges, pears, all from a farmer locally, and I'm supporting my sustainable communities, helping out my family as much as they want to hear it, helping out my friends who want to hear it, and all you guys out there that view this, because it's just an instinct to continue on to the next generation, so that something I said or something you said may plant a seed that I once got from my mentors, and I was able to communicate and think about it and look at history, because history always is potent, and this planet is providing all the medicine in the Amazon, like you were talking about the trees. It's always providing the mental clarity and mental medicine and behavioral medicine that we need to take. It's nicer through a pill. Yeah, it's easier, but you'll also have to take another pill for another pill because another pill.
Yeah, cause and effect, right?
That's it. It's Newtonian physics, and really, you're spot on with all this stuff. And yeah, the best advice I can give everyone is to find a mentor or to volunteer for a mentor and to experience retreats, workshops, whatever you're called for, to just try something new and do something you're fearful every day. But let me ask you a question, kind of to close off, to give these listeners some time to digest all the topics we've been discussing. Now, if you had a billboard to put in 5 cities, and it could be New York City, London, Sydney, Babylonia, Constantinople, Morocco, whatever. If you had a billboard that was going to be in display for months at a time, what would you, if you could do 5 different billboards, that's fine. But if you want to just do one and have them set up in different locations, what would you choose?
Wow. I'm so bad with on the spot questions, but yeah, I don't know. Like for me, since I was very young, what I wanted to tell people mostly was think for yourself. But like, you could put sorry?
Did you say know thyself or think for yourself?
No, think for yourself. Yeah, but I think the funny thing is that no matter what words or images you put on something, everybody's going to perceive it differently relative to where they're at with their beliefs, with their life, with what they need to hear, with what they're open enough to hear. So how do you summarize the thing that's going to get to people in the easiest way? I'm not sure, but I want people to think of themselves, and I want people to consider Earth, because thinking about politics or humans or anything before Earth doesn't make sense. Because when you don't have a planet, you don't have anything. You don't have the economy, you don't have animals anymore, you don't have humans. So yeah, if you could somehow, I'd get the best of the best to create a billboard that somehow gets into people's minds to consider the environment and yeah, the fact that we're not here forever, and you know, just to not do anything that is going to be destructive for the planet. Because for me, that's my biggest love is the earth and the trees, and it's just it's being destroyed. So yeah, but think for yourself is a big message that I would like people to take on.
All right, cool. I think I would. That's like boom, boom, slam, jam, dunk. I think I would have to say, know thyself. Dot. Smile. Dot. Love everyone. And then one would be capitalize. And I would run that campaign for 1 year. And I would hope that I would keep on spreading the message online. I would be spreading the message on media, all commercials. And then I would have it as like in the schools. I would have people do it as a pledge of allegiance, maybe. as weird and xenophobic that sounds, I think that would be a nice message. And see if it makes a difference in that 1 year. And then the next year I'd run the same campaign and change little things.
I think that's great because it's amazing how much messages go into our minds. I remember one thing that Darren Brown did, and he asked people to design a marketing strategy for a certain thing. And he guessed exactly what they did, what they drew exactly. And it was because on the way to the place, to the venue, they had little signs of like, say, an elephant, a cloud, and they didn't know, but it went into their minds. And when they were there to design this thing, they used exactly that. That's how much it went into their minds, something that they just drove past, that they weren't even reading consciously or intentionally. So I think it would be really cool if we all wore clothes that said like really positive things like you are beautiful or love yourself or love Earth. And if there was more billboards with that kind of stuff on, because it goes in, you know, and we have a lot to counterbalance now. Because you can see what all the stuff that are on the current billboards. So yeah, no, it makes a difference. That's awesome, dude. You got to do it.
Now, you made me think of something. What if at one time, you know how there's all these crazy YouTube videos that are out there? What if, like, let's just say a tree was able to communicate, or a cloud was able to design a phrase, or what if there was some sort of I don't know, I don't know, anything that could communicate to the people of what's going on now. What if, like, what do you think a tree would say? What do you think a cloud would put out in the sky? What do you think the message would be?
Have we talked about my conversations with trees? Is that where this is coming from?
No, I'm not sure.
I thought maybe we were talking about it. Because it came to my mind just before as well to mention. I've got a really loud echo. To say to people, talk to a tree because they really do actually speak up. If you get into a meditation place and you go and sit with a tree and you have a question, I promise you.
Yeah, it seems to be a little broken down real fast. And
it's got anyway, I'll try to continue normally.
Say it again, what you were saying.
Yeah, because I couldn't. So basically, if you go and you get into a meditative state and you go and sit with a tree, you will get information. In Guatemala, I did a herb garden course, and we had this exercise where we had to walk and get into a meditative state, and then go to a tree and ask it a question, and then sit and see what happens. And I thought, because trees are my favorite thing in the world, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm so connected to trees. This would be great. I went, but I was blown away by the experience. I mean, I did it 3 different times, 3 different questions, 3 different trees, and each had its own character and personality. and each gave me incredible answers. And so, yeah, I was like, wow, I thought I'm going to go back to the circle and tell my story and they're going to think that I'm crazy. And I went back to the circle and everybody had that. Everybody, like, trees do speak to you. If you go and actually take the time, it might sound crazy to some people, but it's amazing what comes through, and the character and the voice and the information that is just not yours that comes to your mind from the tree. It's incredible. So they have a lot of wisdom. I mean, for me, I think that our role models should be trees. I think that nature reflects all of the lessons that we need. Water does as far as like flowing and being strong and flexible and all kinds of things. Trees in so many ways, you know, they're just so selflessly giving. They're huge, but they just give. They don't expect anything back, you know. And I mean, we're taking advantage of that. But I think, yeah, oxygen, homes, food, paper. I mean, everything they give.
Yes, love. And live without nature.
So much love, yeah, so much good energy. If you hug a tree, I mean, you instantly feel better. It'll just give you love. It'll just. So I think it is important to listen to nature more. And when you pay attention and you look at what that piece of nature represents and how it acts, you can relate that to being a human, and it's going to make your life better, you know, to be more like, yeah, anything in nature, pretty much.
Nature is peace. Nature is love. Nature is our lungs. Nature is what we feed off of, our shirts, our cotton that we have on our jeans. Every little vegetable, every little medicine comes from it. So we do have to respect it. I love that you love trees. And I used to smoke a lot of trees, but now I'm chilling on canopies in the trees, and I'm repelling off of trees, and you know, I'm building wood with trees, or building things with trees. But
and next you're gonna talk to a tree.
Yeah, next I'm gonna try that. I'm actually gonna take a walk after this podcast and really come to fruition, and then edit this down and get the message out, baby, because this is what is real.
It is
Life. I'm gonna throw out a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, because I feel like, man, we put out some truth out here, and I really want people to get down to hear the Gnarly For Namaste, to listen, to read the books, to really listen to leaders like Henneka. Why don't you tell us what your future projects are going to be, and the documentaries that we're going to be planning out? What do you see come forth in your life?
I won't talk about the one I'm doing now, but man, I have so many ideas for things I want to do. We should definitely do a doco. I'd love to do one. Since you mentioned the blue zones, that would be a great one. I love the blue zones, like that whole thing. And imagine going to all those communities and documenting like how they thrive and why, and hearing them speak about that would be really beautiful.
With that energy and with that love, yeah, people want to see it. There'll be top level stuff, not just with the movies, but having like a full realm documentary, so people can get all that easy access information, and then come back with a little happiness from it. Exactly.
Yeah, documentaries, and yeah, having awesome conversations with mind expanding people is something I'd love to do as well. So that's why I thought I've got to say yes to this, to just get in there and see what it's like, because that's what you do, and you know, I'd love to do something like that soon. So
you were born for this. You were born to lead. You were born to speak. You were complete natural, and like I've been on a high this whole day, so this has been a real special treat. And definitely we'll be linking up different sites for what Henneka is going to be doing in the future. We're going to be putting this on iTunes. We're going to be watching this on YouTube, and we'll be doing future seminars with other world leaders too. And you know, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate it, because I really learned a lot today. And we're going to close off on a song called Hey Bobby Marley, and it was done in Byron Bay. It was done at the Arts Village, and I got to perform that night, and I got to be in on the song, in on stage, and I was just so lucky and grateful that I got it recorded. Otherwise, this would have been a distant memory, and I would have been thinking, what am I going to hear? When am I going to hear this amazing song? But it's about 3 minutes long. We're going to close out with that, and I really appreciate all the love. Keep on doing what you're supposed to do, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Many blessings, bro. Lots of love. Thank you.
Woo! Thank you. And let's rock out to this.
Sometimes I dream I'll go to wide world. Hey, something good, something, yeah, you're crazy, you're so crazy. I'm a fancy, I'm a girl, something good, something, yeah, you're crazy, you're so crazy. I'm a fancy, it's gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. Tonight I dream about eternity. Tonight I sing one day, my dream will be like Bobby said to me. Hey, Bobby Marley, something, yeah, you're crazy, you're so crazy. Son of a dancing, Bobby Marley, something, yeah, you're crazy, you're so crazy. Son of a dancing,
All right, guys. Peace out. Again, showing so much love. Bring this into your next day. And definitely give it another listen, guys. Write down some notes. Take some action. One love.
Peace.